achievement. So congratulations for that. Of course, I would like to thank the organizers, all the partners, all of you that has come travel here from across the Mediterranean to share your expertise, to share your project, your perspective. That's something that is very valuable, and I hope that therefore questions on the panels, on the technical questions, will find some time to enjoy. Cartagena is more than 2,000 years old. It means that it has been welcoming people from all over the Mediterranean for really many years. So, definitely for us, it's a pleasure to welcome you again. Just wish you a thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I prepared a brief speech. I would like to so good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cartagena. This as you look through so the sea life for this region always inserts in livelihood. I'm José Enrique Gutiérrez. I'm just a student at the University of Cartagena at the Organised Engineering School. I have the honor to coordinate this project with a project which this conference. Before go any further, let me summer and project and this conference. I would like to thank all the speakers, panels, and the guests for coming to Cartagena and the time generally into the area. I would like to thank you, and especially to the ecosystem and the partner institution for the work that made it. To say legal connection, innovation, apps, and to listen to us about the perspective this work, it's about the people, the parents, and government. Looking at the same thing for what? We have today a exceptional panel. I want to take a minute to read apart from our village Thomas Culture itself and what is the he will college our colleagues from the physical hackathon, which presenting our maritime hub in Spain and project manager of Jacksonville introducing in Egypt. We then move into our first block, economics and Idioma, for innovation in dry knowledge and investment. We'll speak in the it is approximately 15 minutes. We will move to our first panel moderated by Miguel Manderosa of ELB Mallorca on the policy, the practice through blue economy smart specialization strategies. With Dr. Regonona, José Carlos García Martínez, unfortunately, we set our best wishes, and we hope to have their with that is only directed to the oversight panel on connecting interregional innovation ecosystem for both economy mobility by this economy. Formare riferimento all'intellettuali che lavoriamo anche in after lunch, and so the current innovation and we have a third panel on the masiva and Navan, founder of transitions, and Dr. Nasset, Friedman, and management. After the first mini networking break, our fourth and final Senator Marcos, Bernardo Italy, Angus Murphy, we will post the format following the before for those of joining us, we have a guided tour of the Roman Theatre Museum, visiting fully the network restaurant. We will see the people inside the policy, building hubs. I do not for a better city and talk about the major economy. With that very I want to wish all of the panel, someone is the speaker, and this transportable. Use the reach and they will probably happen and not at the microphone. Thank you. And now, please,
going from this? We have this little fragile seed here in the blue economy startup ecosystem, and we can grow it and maybe stay competitive and stay ahead and bring this further. Let me show you what we are doing to do that. And it's because blue economy, there's so much in the blue economy. We are also part of the water king, maybe some of you are as well are connected. So there you really cover the whole breadth of all of the blue economy, from urban wastewater to circular agriculture. Here, as I said, we focus on a specific topic. That is the marine energy, which is renewable energies on small vessels. So here you saw the model outside. It is a floating dock that we will put here in the harbor, where you can test everything around renewable energy in the Mediterranean or in the, let's say, not too rough waters. So this is not far out offshore. We're testing things in vicinity of the so you will test like huge waves, but you can test many things happening here directly in the vicinity. So the green energy applied is happening here, and then we have which is focused on fisheries and sustainable agriculture, which is based in Italy. Naples, and mainly we're working there with the fishermen of the islands of Ischia and Rocha. So everything about that in both beds we have now and talk with the fishermen about, is it useful for you to use satellite data? Does it make sense for you to work with a digital logbook? How does it work for you? So the fishermen are involved, we can work with them. And here we have the possibility to be in the port. We don't have any problem with the ships locally passing, and so you don't have to get a permit. You have the floating dock out there. You can deploy things on that. So this is what we've been working on to get this done, to get this out in the water. And now we are matching this with the startups. We have selected 15 startups, 50 startups to participate in our incubator that is currently running in Malta and that already has participated in large-scale tech events focused on the blue economy, the Global Island Innovation Summit that was happening in Gran Canaria. We were there with our startups, we connected them there to investors, put them on stage. And now we're getting them ready so that they can deploy their test cases in our test beds. Not all of them will match with those, we know that, because that's one of the big challenges. You put a lot of effort in building up a test bed, and then you have startups, and out of 15, maybe 5 find it interesting to test something there. Okay, so that's built into the system, we know that. So what we need to do is we need to talk to the other boards. We need to talk to the other stakeholders to set up other test cases and other test beds for those startups. No, not every startup will be using those, but those who can will be on the floating deck and will be on the visual boats. Great, but the other task for us is to build the relations with the ports and with the other marine or fisher focused stakeholders. So we have a program to sign MOUs with all of these people. So if you're interested to work with startups, or you know someone that might be interested to work with the 15 startups hanging out there on the wall, read it, see if you would want to bring them into your region, into your harbor, into whatever. Then get in touch and we say how we can bring them out there to test their solution. Good. Why is it good? So here you see all the benefits. We want to impact, of course, the economy. We want to impact the fishermen, the ports. We want to impact also the local coastal communities. Actually, part of this project is also an outreach to the coastal communities with citizen engagement. Here in the Murcia region, we will have like public displays of blue economy technologies and possibilities that will be out there in the port with placards for people to learn and understand about what is happening in the blue economy, so that citizens also feel this is something worth being part of. It's something that improves the health of our oceans and makes it better for us citizens as well. And of course, government is also to be involved in S3 specialization, etc. Right? So that just as a quick run through, and since I want to give you also a bit of a peek into what we have been doing and what you guys can take home. So here is, for example, the blue economy heat map, which is one result already from the project. That is a market research to support our startups and to also find the stakeholders we want to engage. So the Blue Economy Heat Map is a digital product where we have a research that maps the spatial distribution of blue economy actors and blue economy assets in Europe. So we understand where are really those hubs for the blue economy that you want to engage in if you are a startup. Now, if you're a startup and you want to sell your product, you need to know selling to ports, where are those ports? No? So you need to understand where is the clustering, where is innovation happening, etc. So we have mapped that out in meticulous work. We have gone through Europe to map out every port, the size of the port, every shipyard where ships are being built. We have every wind farm that is planned or will be installed. We've mapped out every innovation lab that is working with startups in the blue economy, and we have put that on the map, and we've analyzed what that gives us as a result. So if you go to that QR code in the middle, you will see the website that shows you a ranking of the top blue economy deltas. We call it blue economy deltas because what we saw is that there's a functional area of different actors. It is centered around ports, but it extends towards inland, where you have innovation hubs. For example, you look at the city of Berlin, which has many blue economy startups, but has no coast, right? But still you have a lot of blue economy startups in Berlin, and they are connected in the delta to the, what we call the German Bight, German Deutschland, which is the Baltic Sea, where they have access to ports like Rostock or Greifswald and so on. So these are close by ports where they can deploy their technology, and it doesn't matter. I actually met a blue economy startup in the middle of Bavaria, and they were telling me, yes, here we're building underwater drones, for military use. And I was like, okay, you are in the deep forest in Niederbayern, and so, okay, where do you deploy your underwater drones? Yes, in Rostock. Okay, good. Works. So startups can connect to a port. So that's why we look at deltas that are spatial distributed functional areas. Now, just so you see a bit the results. For example, here you see a metric that is the wind capacity. So these are wind farms, installed wind farms. And you see the port that has the most offshore wind farms connected to it in Europe is Bantry Bay, Ireland. So Ireland has the highest wind capacity. Second is Italy. Read it. Something like this. Okay, so but there's a lot of Ireland and a bit of Italy where you have the wind capacity, so offshore wind farms. No? It's a unique geography if you look where this is clustered. And then we compare that with shipyards. And that's a very different picture. So it's not the same places necessarily, but you look where do we have in Europe the most shipyards that are repairing and building ships? Germany, basically. So most of it is in Germany. So Germany has the biggest shipyard industry. So if you are in that business and you're selling to shipyards, well, that's where you need to look. So this is just a little sneak preview. What we do so that we map out where the blue economy is. We have our test beds, but we need to scale this up. We need more test beds. That's why we have an expansion program. That's why we have an MOU program where we get others involved that also want to open up their capacities for this funnel of startups that we are bringing. And we want to repeat this in the future, and I hope you all will be part of that. And here are the startups. That's the funnel we're talking about. you're interested out there, their profiles are on the wall. Read it. If you want to get in touch with any of them, ask us. We will take your contacts and put you in touch. Next conference will be in Italy, and there all startups will present. So it's going to be next year, and we will have all our startups with us then. That's it from my side. And please do join, if you haven't done yet, the online community to have access to all of these resources and exchange. And then from here on, I would say we go to the first keynote. Jose Enrique, maybe you want to do the honors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernard. Our colleagues from this conference will present the Marine Energy Hub here in Spain within Cartagena, Francisco.
Okay, thanks a lot. I am here from Cartagena, so I'm really pleased to meet you all in my city. It's a very nice city. It's true, it's not much from here. I would like to introduce the Marine Energy Hub. Thomas has introduced a little about it, but nowadays, if we talk about the marine energy, I think that most of us know about that. It's increasing the wave power, the tidal power. Every day we are facing new installations for extracting energy from the sea, mainly waves and tides, but solar, big wind farms, solar on the sea. But when we move to the land, we are used to find these kind of things. When we get our car, it's very easy to find big installation of wind farms. We are not surprised when we find it. And at the same time, perhaps most of us in our house we have solar panels, or this picture of a farm in the middle of nowhere with solar or with wind, small wind generators just for the farm. We are very common to find this in our mind. But what happens when we move to the sea? We don't need small energy devices to generate energy. The answer is no. We don't think about that, but there's a lot of examples of places where we need small devices to provide energy. For example, a remote place, an island, we need power. If we have a lighthouse or whatever we have here, there, we need energy. For example, the fishermen, now the European Commission is moving step by step to encourage the fishermen to do their activities in a more sustainable way, using energy power boats. For example, the offshore aquaculture, they need, of course, energy too, for the sensor, for the feeding system, the small desalination plant, the one that we have in the picture, and of course, the sensor. You are a sonographer, as my case, you need to provide energy to the sensors, and in this other sample, you don't need a very big infrastructure for the energy. You need some kind of devices that can be provide energy, as I said, for these examples. If we look around what we have here, we have very, very awesome facilities, like for example, Locan. If we are developing very big wind farm, we can go there and test our devices. But what happens when we want to test a small device, or I have an idea and I just want to know if my idea makes sense or doesn't make sense, or a new materials, I want to test a new material for a device, but I don't need a very big infrastructure. I want to put in a place that can be controlled and get some information. Or as I said, an idea. I have an idea, I wanted to test it. That's the reason that we get in this project with the Marine Energy Hub that has different phases. I like the Western, so when I was preparing the presentation, I say the three parts of this Marine Energy Hub, the channel, the platform, and the boards, came to my mind this film. So I'm going to explain one of these parts. First, there is the channel. The channel is to answer one question. My idea makes sense. In the UPCT, we have this facility. This is a very well-controlled, high-control environment We can create waves, we can create currents, we can get the data, but it's a small place. It's just an idea that they want to make to answer this question, if it makes sense. But in the other side, we can be a company, we are in a TRL about 5, 6, I have a device, I know that it works, but I want to test it in a real place. So we know that the paperwork needed to test to ports sometimes is a mess. So with this project, we have several partners that are working with ports, and are providing an easy access to a different ports in the region of Murcia, different kind of ports. We have ports inside the Mar Menor Coastal Lagoon. We have ports with more wave, with less wave. Tides, I'm sorry, we are in the Mediterranean, the side of the Mediterranean. We are not magicians, there is no tides in here, but in any case, we can give access to this startup, say, okay, come, put your device in the port, use it for, I don't know, 1, 2 months, whatever the company needs, and you can do it for free, and all the paperwork done. So I think that for the companies, it's a very good thing. This is an example of different ports, fisherman port, yacht port, marinas. As I said, there is different kinds of ports. And finally, the one that is I think the more different thing on the project is what we call the platform. I know we must work on the name. The platform is like nothing. It's a lot of things. It can be Netflix or can be something for this project. But what is the goal of this platform? Is to have a place with a lot of information. I am a startup. I want to know if my device is working or not. So I put in a place that I get data from the temperature, salinity, waves, current, how many energy my device is producing. All this information is going to be very useful for the company in order to get investors or to know to improve the development of the technology that the company is using. This is a artificial intelligence picture, but hopefully in 1 month we will put the real one. But as I said, what is the goal of this hub, this platform? Is develop, test, and validate small-scale marine renewable energy devices. I want to emphasize that it's for a small scale. We want to collaborate with all the startups, researchers, investors, but always keep in mind small devices. This is our focus. What is going to have the platform? As I said, it will be self-powered, with solar power, with different kinds of devices to provide energy to the platform. So it's not going to be plugged online. They have their own energy system, and they have a lot of monitoring and sensors to know how many energy is producing my device. This all the data is going to be very well saved in a very friendly way to show to the person who is working on the platform. What kind of sensor we are going to have? Nowadays, it's going to have an ADCP to know the currents of the profile currents, the waves, the metro, irradiance, wind. We think that all the things that a company can need. Of course, I will be really, really happy if someone of you can later say, it would be a good idea to have blah, 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 this kind of sensor. It will be really useful. I'm really happy to know that because we wanted to make the NVIDIA platform for the startups and the researchers. And of course, the ability, the availability of the platform. There are going to be people working there, so you must be more or less comfortable. They will have a workhouse where they can place or save things in here, the computer, the sensors. So it's going to be, I think that's a really nice infrastructure. To increase the TRL of a company, I want to go to investor. I want to get money from the investor, but I want to show some data. Where I get this data? You can come here, you can get this data, and then come back to the investor with your data to show that your technology is working. To prove of concept, And finally, share this infrastructure. It's not for the UPCT, it's not for the partner of this project, it's for everybody, for all the world. Researchers, technology developers, everyone is welcome to use this platform. Where is it going to be placed? This green spot is where we are now. This place, if later in the coffee break you can see by the window, there is a red lighthouse at the end of the harbor. There is going to be the platform. This is the location. This is a picture where the platform is going to be here. Next month, in 15 days, it's going to take the platform here. This is how it looks nowadays. So it's going to be a very nice work with diver with a lot of things. I think we are going to be a funny days during the installation. I want to say that in here there is a VAT center, a diverse VAT center, so we are collaborating with them too for formation. The student will help us with the installation of the platform and all the tasks related with the platform. So there is something that we found useful, not research, not only startup, formation for the students too. So, as Thomas said, we are now starting the collaboration with different companies that in a few months they're going to come here to use the platform. And SolarSat, Tracker, this is one company that is extracting energy for the marine. So I think that's a very nice idea, and we wanted to encourage everybody to come to use our platform. So I'm going to be here for the day, for the Roma Theater later, for the dinner. So please don't hesitate to come to talk with me, and I am open 100% to new ideas. So thanks a lot, and then I leave the floor for the next speaker, Flavio. You have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm a project manager from Organised, and Organised is the company responsible for the alpha test bed in Italy that I'm going to introduce today. So, first of all, a very quick overview of the company. Organised is a startup that is mainly focused on AI and data acquisition and processing. So what we mainly do is we acquire data from multiple sources, mainly satellites, but also external sources like sensors from the field or IoT devices or basically any kind of data source. We ingest them in our AI proprietary algorithms and tools that we build for each kind of project that we develop. And the result of the data processing is usually dashboards for users that provide them not only an overview of the data that we have ingested and processed, but also let's say decision support system. So something that provides suggestions on the specific field that we are targeting with our application. Moving on to Alpha. What is Alpha? Alpha is the acronym for Automated Logbook and Fisherman System. So it's an IoT ready and web-based asynchronous service. This means that we can work offline for fishermen who are at sea without any available connection. They can use it from their smartphone. So it has a very low barrier for access. It features species detection. It features also date, time, GPS position, and fishing gear recognition. In the end of the fishing activity, it can generate a QR code that summarizes all the information that are listed there. And you can also complement the information with weather data, weather quality index, so something that basically telling you how nice is the water in which fish were caught. We have developed the interface for the alpha testbed, I would say the alpha web application. So we have on one side the user interface for fishermen. What you see there is basically something that is based on a smartphone. It can be used by voice commands, because of course this was thought as being useful and practical to use for fishermen who are often at sea. Maybe they are alone, maybe they have gloves, so it's not say practical to have an interface based on button and sliders. So the usual interface you might think of for an application. So we are focusing on voice control, and this is the interface for fishermen. We also have an interface for fleet management, which means that in case, as we're doing, we will be getting in contact with fleet managers. They can have a dashboard that summarizes everything that's happened with the fleet. So what was the catch, what was the composition of the catch in terms of species and weight, fuel consumption, position of the vessels, and also if the logs catch logs were submitted or not to the central hub of the fleet management. It features also several alerts that summarize all the information that was said. Moving to testbed, as also Thomas and said, we are based on mainly in Ischia and in Procida. In Ischia, we have about 10 fishermen who have already joined the testbed. So I don't want to spoil the final surprise. So let me just speak about strategies and targets of this application and of the testing in general. So first of all, we want to empower the coastal communities. We are involving the fishermen in the development of the application itself. So we might say that this was not built from top to bottom, but rather from the bottom to the top. Because we went to the fishermen, we listened to them, and we understood what were their actual needs, what were their pains during their actual job. Also, by doing so, we are able to involve them in not only the development, but also they own their own data. Whatever we acquire during the usage of the application remains within the ownership of the fishermen themselves. We want to also tie into the innovation ecosystem, because we are providing state-of-the-art technology, we are providing tools that are based on AI, observation, and other advanced tools, but we also want to support the adoption of the technology. So as I said, we're not going top to bottom. We are trying to have fishermen actually feed the need for the application, and feel that the application, the service that we provide is useful for them. It's not just another tool, another additional burden for the work. From the financial point of view, we provide the application as a service. So it's easy for us to scale up. We do not have or we do not require devices for the usage of the application. As I said, this was designed with very, very low requirements in mind. So the smartphone that the fishermen might already have, and actually this is most of the times the only device that they have on board, is just enough for the core features of Alpha, what I listed before. So species recognition, GPS acquisition, or the marine data acquisition. our cloud backend provides the rest of the data. So there is no computing power required on their side. Also, if we plan to scale up the application, this means provide the same service to more people, or also provide the same service to larger scale fisheries. Our cloud infrastructure can be quickly expanded through the commercial services that you might know, like Amazon Web Services or anything similar to that. So we do not have a physical installation on our site, and do not require physical installations on the vessels. As I said, this was designed from the first day, targeting the small scale fisheries. We are willing to scale up, of course. We are willing to scale to larger vessels, and we know that for larger vessels, there is more availability of power sources, connection, whatever. We might even envision a dedicated device, but this is not the target. This is not our current target. It's for us. It's easier and it's more reasonable to scale up rather than to scale down. Again, talking about smart specialization strategies, we are in implementing the test bed. We are actually using the marine assets to foster digital innovation. So we are going into places like Ischia and Procida, where fishery is a very important part of the economy, and so it's actually the sea is their resource. But we are tying that again with digital innovation. So something that is let's say we are bringing high tech to a traditionally low tech sector. Lastly, with innovation, usage of AI and Earth observation data is in itself a value, is in itself a market opportunity. This is something that has come out in recent years because not because data were not available. We have lots of data coming from satellite, and for sure we have lots of data coming from sensors. They were not even tested. But computing power and also storage for such a large amount of data has become widely available since rather few years. So this is the moment in which we can actually use this kind of technology in a scalable way and in a profitable way, and without the need of very, very large investments in what we want to do with Alpha, with testbeds, with even a project in general, we want to create a network. On one side, we have startups, and with startups, we can envision features, extension or integration. So they do something that can integrate with Alpha, or vice versa. So it's a mutual exchange. Or also services extension integration. So we create something in the value chain. We create something in the additional in the supply chain. For example, of fish in the fish market. We can also cooperate at the very, let's say, more basic technological level through APIs. This means we can exchange data. We can exchange functions of the mutual, let's say, services we want to provide. At a very basic level, we can exchange data. So we collect a lot of data, both from fishermen and from satellite, from weather data, and so on. These data sets, these very large data sets that can be either raw or partially processed, can be exchanged again to create new market opportunities, new services, new features that can be beneficial for both for the users and of course for the companies who want to develop them. On the other side, we have academia and research institutes. With them, of course, we want to cooperate with to support scientific research, because sometimes academia does not have access or do not have, let's say, develop enough access to some kind of data or to application that can process the data. They might benefit again from raw data sets. But also on the other side, we can have our model or our assumption, let's say, validated by research institutes. And this is important for us because in the end, we are not marine biologists, we are not fishermen, of course. We are computer scientists, so what we do, I might say, simplifying a lot what we do, we make software, and this kind of software provides you results. But this result comes from processing of very, very large amounts of data. Also, when the software provides you a suggestion, something that you should do, or something that might be good for you, for example, for alpha, there is a route optimization. So the dashboard might suggest you where you should go fishing in order to improve the probability of catching. Or to catch a specific species of fish. This is something that should be more and more valuable. And this is also the core of AI and machine learning. They have to learn, they have to train them a lot, and they have to be constantly verified. So, concluding my brief speech, I would say that, of course, none of this would be possible if we just sat in our office making the best possible application. And so, this is, I think, what is our main result. Because a few days ago, as I said, we were in Ischia to speak with the fishermen, and we shared with them our vision. We shared with them, we explained to them what Alpha does, what Alpha can do for us, and what we should do to actively join the test bed. So, the neutral application, we provide them the application, we provide the service, we help you, we support you, we teach you how to use it. But on the other side, you should be willing to, let's say, help us in developing it, and also making us understand if our application is actually useful for you, if we should change something to make it more useful, to make sure that it is not, as I was saying before, not an additional effort on your side. You should be fishing, you're alone in your small boat, and this is something that should only help you. It should not be in the way of your job. It should not be in the way while you are taking back the fishing net, while you are boxing fishes at your caught. And so this is a very, very good result because we have very positive feedback from them. These are the first 4 fishermen that joined us in Ischia, and I hope, I'm sure that you will see them very often popping up in all the contents of all the material that we produce to document our, not only from the technical side, that is everything that I explained before, but more on the very people side, on the ground, not on the ground. But this is let's say, this is the most important part of this project, because without them, we could not test our application, we could not actually understand if it fails somewhere, if it's actually a nice piece of software, or if it's something that is absolutely useless. And I don't think it's useless, but these people will tell us. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Flavio, for your presentation. Now, we have the first keynote, which we will do innovation and investment in Central Europe and Florida. In charge of the Pilar Yeva, for you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me to the beautiful Cartagena. It's my first time, and it's a really a pleasure to be here. So I worked for a blue economy innovation investment at the Innovation. Yes. So I work for blue economy innovation investment for the innovation engineering. And over the past years, I invested in investors and companies and policies changes, what becomes very clear beginning again. Europe does not have innovation, as we saw already today, does not have talent. What is still missing is translating these new ideas into successful businesses. This is still not happening enough. And today I'd like to share a few observations from this perspective. So if we look at the most successful blue economy industries today, we see that all of them started with small companies with good technology ideas. Take for instance offshore wind energy. Around 30 years ago, it was just emission technology with emerging projects and expensive and risky, and many people believe that it's not viable. But some companies still believe in the technology, they developed the potential and get moving and improving the technology. Investors gradually became interested because the costs were coming down, and the profits and margins together. Important policies also supported it. And today we see that Europe is a global leader in offshore wind energy, sharing its expertise around the world. This reminds us that emerging technologies of today can become the global leaders of the future. And today, if we look at some new economy sectors, we see a lot of interesting technologies emerging. The latest Blue Investor report, which I would like to share with you today, gives a useful overview of this emerging landscape. So the report estimates the number of funds, specialized funds that invest in the blue economy in Europe today. How many do you think there are? So there are 160 funds investing today in the blue economy, and this is a huge growth from just a few years ago when we saw close to none, just a few funds investing in some sectors of the blue economy. So the sector is definitely growing, and additional funds are expected to enter the space in the next few years, which comes from our service of investors. Dedicated blue economy funds today manage around 3 billion euro in assets, and if we take generalist funds, which invest only part of the portfolio in the blue economy, this figure rises to 11 billion. Another observation of the report is that most active investors are venture capital funds. So what do these numbers tell us? They show that blue economy definitely is becoming a serious area for investment. Investors are increasingly interested. And it shows also that most investors are still concentrated on the early stage. So the next challenge is scaling up innovation into material technologies. We invest the flagship investment readiness assistance program of the European Commission, supports companies in becoming investment ready, helps them to connect with investors, provides market intelligence, such as the report presented today, and showcases innovative technologies to investors and to private businesses. And this support is complemented by funding, with the blue economy funding instrument under the Investing Group program, which combines the public and private funding to provide EU guarantees in order to leverage private capital. It works through financial intermediaries, and by 2028 we expect significant risk capital to be raised for innovative SMEs and startups in the blue economy. The report also shows that investor interest is expanding beyond the traditional sectors, such as shipping and energy. Investors are increasingly looking at emerging technologies, such as sustainable agriculture, shipping mechanization, biotechnology, and resilience, environmental resilience as well. I will give just a few examples to illustrate these emerging sectors. So, for instance, Balfour Blue is a company that develops wind-assisted propulsion, so sails for commercial vessels, which makes shipping more sustainable but also more profitable because it reduces fuel consumption. A few years ago, it was just a small company with a novel idea. It benefited from previous support to strengthen its investment position and increase visibility. And since then, it has attracted private investment and expanded internationally. Today, it's securing contracts with large shipping companies such as maritime. And what is interesting is not only the technology, but also the trajectory, because the company grew very fast from an innovative startup to a successful international company with large customers around the world. Another example is Ocean Structures, which works in Barcelona. And in this company, develops solutions that help marine life to recover around marine infrastructure, such as ports and offshore installations. So the starting point of the company is a simple question: can infrastructure support marine life rather than damage? And also with the help of Organised, the company expanded its investment proposition and received a seed investment round. Today, the solutions are deployed in multiple projects and the company is growing rapidly. And this is a good example of how environmental challenge was translated into a good business opportunity. A third example is Scientia, an aquaculture company which develops new approaches to farming food in Europe. As you know, it's a very sought after fish species and demand is high, but the challenge is how to grow it sustainably. Scientia was one of the first companies benefiting from industrial assistance. And with this support, it raised investment from several sources, including private investment, and attracted strategic partners to support its development. These are just a few examples. We invested supported over 400 companies since 2019, and around 100 of them already secured investment after participating in the program. So I can give much more examples, but these companies have one thing in common. They solve real problems in different sectors and address real customer needs. And this is exactly what attracts customers, creates markets. This is also what attracts investment. And it also shows that the right support at the right moment can really make a difference for the loss of this value that communication to successful business. The investor report highlights another important point. Europe is very good at producing knowledge and research. What is still missing is translating it into businesses, and what we hear very often is that investors are actually looking for strong projects to invest in. At the same time, companies are looking to raise capital and find customers, and connecting these sides is still one of the key challenges in the European economy today. And this is why initiatives such as NetHubs are making a difference, because innovation does not follow geographic borders. It can happen in one country, can be tested in another, find customers in the third country, and then find investors in a different country. And this is why this regional approach is so important and so promising. So that knowledge can translate into business opportunities, so that companies can find partners, investors, and so that promising projects reach the market faster. As a final thought, I would like to say that when people speak about the ocean economy, they usually think about ocean resources. But when we look at the most successful examples, we see people. We see researchers, businesses, investors, and policymakers working together to address the issues. At the beginning, I mentioned offshore wind and its translation from an emerging technology to global leadership. And many technologies we see today will follow the same path. Some of them may fail, some of them will succeed. This is the nature of innovation. But what is important is creating the right conditions to succeed. It's also about cooperation, as was mentioned before. This is why conferences like today are important. So I wish you a very productive day with a lot of user exchanges and new connections. If you're interested, I invite you to share the investor report online. It's public. But if you have any questions, I'm very happy to discuss it with you in the breaks and also about other initiatives of Jamaica. So let me know. Thank you for your attention.
you, Diana. Now we have a 15 coffee break. Thank you for to know we are to both. Now we have a 15 coffee break. Please, in 15 minutes, come back to the coffee in the hand. We start with the first panel. Okay? So please go back. And the coffee room is close to this room.
Afuera estábamos, una huevada. Mira, aquí. Ya que a mí me han dicho que me pongo esta camiseta, y todo el mundo va súper elegante, ¿sabes? Y me toca los cojones que falta.
Okay, check the audio. Like how now I'm with the in the cast. Yeah, tell me if the audio gets better, or if my audio gets from far. Actually, it should go from far if we say the speakers. The communications is not working fine because we have put in the audio directly from here, but I don't know how to sort this. I'm checking the audio. Choose a device for speaking or recording. Yep. Hmm. Output devices, input devices. Where is the mic? Maria, are you here? Okay, I am not. Can How do you hear me on the cast? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Reset sound. Yeah, that's what I am. We don't want system sounds. Configuring default playback device. Manage audio input device. Hmm. No, are you sure? Ah, yes. You will not be able to access screen. Yeah, that is why we needed, two people. Ahmad is needed. Is Let me call Ahmad. Okay. And how do I solve the audio piece? I am not sure. I think we will have to have the bad audio. We have microphones, but we do not have enough. And we can try. They have just given us the stuff. Let me check. So we need to see if this can act as a mic.
Doesn't? How they hear it?
We hear it from the system's mic, the laptop mic, and how
So
this
it's
is
bad?
taking it is from there. This is, taking it's very bad. Yes. So how do we solve this?
In settings like camera default settings, to use sound from
Yeah, settings are here.
from computer settings.
Okay.
But
Okay, computer settings. Yes.
this one,
Yes. Do
it
what?
doesn't see. Let me see.
Like,
Can
I want this to be the mic.
Okay, look what happened.
Hmm.
Something happened.
Okay, let me get someone and let me get someone.
I think so.
I tried this as well, doesn't work.
Is it?
It doesn't
Is
appear
it
that
really?
That's what I was asking. Is it really on? And we are
Somehow.
only here people, we are not technicians.
Yeah.
So the first thing, because look, when I click it, something is changing in my
Is this
computer. You see,
Yeah, that's
something.
the input. But
So
this needs to be recognized as a mic.
it says only about, but why it says only about where to play the sound, not where to take it.
Have you? I'm not an expert at all, but maybe audio in. It's in audio out. Normally
what I-
it's audio out, or we
No,
could try
audio
audio.
out should be, but
It's not the same.
okay, it's impossible. Well, audio out, it should be.
Have you tried to restart the computer or something?
Let's do it. Let's do it. That's always a good thing.
Because
Maria, can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello.
I can hear you. Can
I
you hear me?
see this. Hello. No, I
Yes.
can. Do you hear the mic?
Yes,
From the mic.
I thought that with the problem was solved.
No, we were listening just from this. Do you understand? If it's something from zero, just simply let's like out of zero. Couldn't be this. The one day I can feel confidence not like that.
Yeah. They're going to fall again.
This is how we learn. Well, otherwise, we will fail. But do you understand? It's
Focus on my. It is after the. But are you able to get? If not, then I will go on. Can be manage this, however, if it goes fine, if not, okay, go with the PDF, that's the last piece.
But it connects like speaker. It's like giving us not taking. But this is old. This is strange.
It's strange, but I don't know why the
So maybe this should be.
it should be
But this is the cable
doesn't fit. It's different. Doesn't fit.
is. But it looks like
The technician come here. Check.
can it be logically that we need
The
this
technician is coming.
because now it connects like giving the sound. See, it connects here to the speaker. I cannot.
Now we have our first panel. How to do the strategy is to move from the panel from the theory to practice. This is moderated by Miguel Rosa, Mallorca, joined by José Carlos García, and Andrés
okay, yeah. We need to be close to the meeting. But thank all of you for joining us today. I'm back to Texas and the University of Cartagena. Well, this is the first panel that we have today, but it's not the most exciting panel. We are talking about the Smart Specialization Strategy, and this is an initiative provided by the European Union, and this is the second program from this is the second program, this is three. The first one was 14-20, and this is 21-27. Let me introduce myself. I'm Miguel Hernandez. I'm the manager. I don't know, can you hear me? No, I don't know, you probably move to this point. Perfect, say perfect. Okay. So, I'm the manager of the Mallorca Flag. Flag is a fishery local action group. This is an entity that we are the managers of the funds. Those are the funds dedicated to fisheries, maritime, and aquaculture from the European Union. This is a sort of 27 program. With me in the panel, we have from the end of the table to me, Dr. Berumal, founder and consultant in EAK Academy and Consultancy. She has an
of the strategic planning process with the data participant later stage. So a defined governance framework supported by clear documentation of responsibility, by implementation documents and regulatory mapping enables the smart specialization strategy and priorities to translate into the concrete and actionable secondly, the sustainable and circular economic principles should be embedded from design stage. Applied to large-scale cleaning resource efficiency, industrial symbols, environmental impact assessment has the project become more resilient, traceability, scalable, and aligned with the European Green Deal and sustainable development objectives. So, regions need stronger capacity to bridge the between innovation and deployment. This is more important. It means that combining regulatory readiness, assessment finance flows, demonstration infrastructure, and product management frameworks is more important. The most critical success factor is moving beyond strategic documentation and creating implementation ecosystems. Where finance, industry, academia, and authorities work together and share priorities. So, smart specialization should not make the region leading to investment projects by clearing awareness, structure, and meaningful KPIs and long-term outcomes. Another point most important stakeholder cooperation is more important. Creative projects are cross-sectional collaboration among parts, force, fisheries, aquaculture, agriculture, tourism, renewable energy, and administration is more important. Our engagement project single market leads greater vertical priorities. Flow bank governance, findings, sustainable and innovation are integrated from the outside as smart specialization projects can be evolved into the impact and economic projects.
Thank you very much. So we move to Carlos. José Carlos, as you recall, in Creaita, about Murcia's the Smart Specialisation Strategy, I believe in this phase 4, has been developed in real life.
In my experience, the first idea, the Murcian risk for strategy is it isn't a strategic document because it has a real execution and a structure. Murcia in this strategy has the goal strategic transformation, economic implementation with this strategy. Okay? The area maritime sector and blue economy is the prior sector in this strategy because the environment in Cartagena ports, the different agents, university, our industry, companies, accelerator, technological center with our sector is have a lot of agents in the ecosystem innovation. In blue economy, this translates a concrete initiative for this strategy in different concrete actions. From Cartagena, I can highlight Caeta, for example, because it's a new strategy to support the technological innovative use in the area civil and the defense sector, in which from Cartagena, according to the Smart Specialization Strategy, phase 4, is join the regional development agency. This is a big strategy because it's very actual in all areas. Only municipality with regional and European in Germany. Risk score is therefore not only policy not only policy. It acts with as a catalyst with another agents in the ecosystem, including diversity, bigger and technological, and the more important is to accelerate the new opportunities for entrepreneurs, for startups, for in these cases can have success in this environment, because for me the more important is the risk for is not a document, because it's a good practice to order this ecosystem in this sector.
Thank you very much. So, he said that history is not a qualification. Was family and your experience. It is possible to avoid the top bottom approach. This is what happens when there is policy and not with the presentation of the management in the final business.
Hi everybody, I'm happy to be here. So basically, I spent 5 years of my life building an ocean cluster in Canada, in a very remote region of Canada. And I think that the top-down approach, when we see a potential in the market, I'm trying to think down this, it's important to have the policies and to have a framework in place. That's wonderful to have the support, to have the financial capabilities to set this up. I think it's crucial, but it's just step one. And after that, how do we move beyond this? That's the tricky part, isn't it? So for me, working in tech for a few years, I'd say that we call it demand owner. So if the demand owners or the main enterprises, the bigger companies in any sectors are not willing to jump on board and take the lead, it's very rare that we're going to be able to see a dynamic startup ecosystem emerge. So there's a way, and it's very crucial for policymakers, for people who are managing the projects, to get the enterprise very excited and to incentivize them to get on board. We can think that ship companies and energy companies have plenty of capital, and we should expect them to just jump in and take the lead. But it's not about money, it's about the de-risking and seeing proving the concept. Sorry. I think in a lot of cases, what we've seen is that they participated in a lot of pitch competitions or demos, and they've been in contact with universities, with startups, sometimes who were at the very beginning of their journey. And in a lot of cases, what I'm hearing from the industry partners is that, oh yeah, we've tried the startup things, or we've been in touch with startups, and it didn't really, it's nice, but it didn't really lead to actual projects that we can implement in our organization, either because it's too risky, the technology hasn't been proven, or we just don't have the time to look at it. It's also, yeah, that's a big factor also, especially in the maritime sector. The innovation teams are very small, if they exist at all, in all of these companies, and they are stretched very thin. So as a cluster, as a leader of an ambitious blue project, I would say that it's really important to make it really easy for developers to implement some pilot projects. And one way to do it when we were working with Canada Ocean Supercluster and other Canadian counterparts. And really the idea, we built open innovation frameworks, and we would finance half of the project. We would pay the startup to do a commercial pilot, and we would also ask the commercial partner to pay half of the price. And we would start small with something that is actionable and that is able to prove results within 3 to 5 months. Because because they have to prove to their boards that this can work. And once you have that, and you're able to prove it, then it's much easier for them to scale, to invest at scale. That's one of my recommendations. I think I'll go for everyone.
Thank you very much. We are now moving to any questions, and in this case, more focusing you in your expertise. So I will start with you, and your expertise is the guiding. It's the life cycle project. So the question is, how can life cycle thinking and circular economy principles be embedded into smart specialization strategies to create scalable and investment in economy innovation projects? And it's very long question, but before I think it is clear the objective.
I spent last 9 years working in Mediterranean areas including Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, and Turkey as well. So to work in the life cycle thinking and circular economy principles in integration with policy and the technical side. The first part is the more fun, is the thinking about this life cycle thinking and circular economy strategies. We are not focusing on the first beginning of the project strategy. Generally, they are more working in the marketing and commercial needs, so it is the more important that this kind of principles should be embedded into those smart specialization strategies from the early stage of the beginning strategic of the planning and in priority setting, and ensure that sustainability is integrated by design rather than later consideration. And regions and some companies should identify sector-specific opportunities, establish a clear and implementation roadmap and policy instruments and funding mechanisms and governance structures to support circular economic innovation. That means that strengthening policy innovation and regulatory capacity is really more important. That means that public authorities, innovation ecosystems, SMEs, corporates, academies, research organizations should first receive the planning, target training on the circular economy policies, sustainability regulations, and investment framework to accelerate the transition from the strategy to implementation. At the project lead, life cycle thinking mindset should guide the new product and the process development by incorporating and design research efficiency, industrial symbols, and the end-of-life considerations from the other side. That this should be a systematic use of assessment, circulatory indicators, and environmental performance, and metric and social performance enables the evidence-based decision making, support the development of scalable and investment-ready solutions. So we need to first developing target strategy. After that, implementation of the policy alignment to really. After that, we need to do metric-specific KPIs, not just like the documentation system into the supply chain technique. So by embedding this principle into S3 Smart Specialisation Strategies, performance and innovation compliance regions criteria influence the economic projects that generate long-term economic value by reducing environmental impact and strengthening regional competitiveness. So after that, this also in the circular economy principle and life cycle assessment really support the new product and process development. So in the same time, we are measuring the sustainable supply chain management for creating long-term projects.
José Carlos. Return to the startups, and one of the questions, how can startups ecosystems and accelerators act as an engine for the S3 implementation? For me, the startup ecosystem is maybe probably one of the most effective implementation mechanisms for the triple S Smart Specialization. What in our the main objective is the to support in the first steps in new company, in entrepreneurs, in spin-off academic is in this moment is the value of it is a problem here, and more problem in all entrepreneurs, in all youth. In our function of supporting in different assessment in financial area, marketing, technological, incubator, incubation, in the connecting in another actors, in another companies, overall in different action, open innovation, big corporates, for example. Maybe is a good way to improve the situation and improve the scale up in this companies. An example of this example is accelerating AI in our sector in defense, innovating in bigger antenna. This is a new project in which we can 11 startups in different research spin-off in this sector. When the support here is introduce this startup or this technology in a big client, which the army is here, and this a good example in Canada, in the strategy in which the strategy is according the risk for more specialization. It's a good example, but for me the more important is the startup ecosystem is a tool, operative tool in the final client. And know the requirements in these phases, and the incubator is an interface between administration and the final companies, the final entrepreneurs. In this business can uplift the new projects, can uplift the different value proposition activities that from the project in this structure. We can then have agreement with the regional development administration, and it's possible to propose different activities according to the final problem in this company. And this is possible. It's a good engine in this strategy. We can there are different bits in all Europe. This is a main alliance in this ecosystem because it improves the dynamic entrepreneur and the big company here in this.
Thank you very much. So we are moving to the next step, that is how mobilize human capital for startups that are creating by the industry. This is the last step of the same.
Yes, we need money. How do we do that? Well, there are different layers. So first of all, I think it's really important. Investors, private capital is highly sophisticated. Everybody is reaching out to them. They need to know if they have an investment thesis that is focused towards blue or maritime sector. They need to know exactly who they're talking to. So we're seeing a lot of hubs, a lot of initiatives emerging emerge that are government-led, and this is great. But you need, I guess, very strong brand and a very clear frame of reference. So is it led by the economic development agency? Is it led by the city? Is it led by an acceleration program? So the more clarity you can provide them, the better. Then pipeline. So AI accelerator program, any programs with starting at the university level, being in touch directly, and then providing them again clarity on what's the pipeline, what are the opportunities, so you can make it really easy for them to spot the best contenders. Speaking of common language also is very important, making sure that the startups know exactly how to communicate. The exhibition programs are a great first step, but coaching around how to approach those investors
Yo soy de informática, pero de
an
conexiones.
issue that we've been trying to solve in the blue economy sector for a very long time, and in the insurance sector in general.
Pero mira,
Investors were used to invest in
la salida no funciona, no le funciona la salida. Se supone que esto es el output, pero
they
no
have specific KPIs, and they have a frame of reference that is very solid. They've been doing that for a long time. When you arrive with ocean-based solution and algae and nature. For the typical investment roadmap, and that's fine too. We need to acknowledge that. So having an approach where, and maybe that's where we can use some of the catalytic funding that is being provided by either the EU or other philanthropic actors, where you can have a roadmap where the startups can be able to operate more with debt equity convertible loans or any kind of blended finance that is a bit more hybrid. And those solutions are starting to emerge, and those conversations are starting to happen at every level of government. So that's a really good news. But making sure what I'm seeing about the startups don't know where to go, and they don't know which track they should be followed. So making sure that at the very early step, they know if they're going to be completely bootstrap and become SME, or if they're going to follow a Series A to B, C with an exit, or be more of a kind of a full-scale private partnership. So educating everybody on those aspects would be a great option. And the last thing I would say is what we saw as an opportunity when I was in the cluster is, especially in fishermen, they have a tendency, there is a lot of capital in the fishery sector, but for the most part, the main actors and the main companies are used to invest in other sectors. So they make money and then they invest in real estate, or they make money and they buy a boat, or they are not used to operate in a private investment landscape. They're not used to the startup ecosystem. So what we saw as an opportunity was to bring, especially the new generation who is trying to move away from typical traditional fishery and want to invest more in highly valorized projects such as marine biotech or building aquaculture facilities. You can team up with those actors and really bring them together to build a fund either private capital or private entity fund, but they should be part of the development of their own, of the future of the industry.
Regarding Smart Specialisation Strategies. So, thank you very much. You. Before moving to the next question, I will ask a very brief question to you. Mo, can you give me an example of an economy innovation project built around circular economy principle?
Shortly, the most important practical example is sustainable projects that transform fisheries, aquaculture, and the seafood processing streams into high-quality biogenic product streams. This means that new product process development creates new revenue streams by reducing waste generation and encouraging on the marine research. This kind of valorization, this kind of ingredients, reactive compounds, and fish ingredients, and bioplastics, and bioplastics. This is the most important in the transition from the life to the actions to commercial viable, ethical, creating climate change and contributions. So, most important, high-quality product, new product process and service development in the
Yes, we'll talk later about this initiative. That is very interesting. Yeah. And Carlos, also is an example of one startup that is where yesterday history, this strategy is getting more creative around this strategy.
Maybe we have different strategic startups in actual sector we will use, for example, environment. In this case, is in defense. It's possible drones. Drones is aerodynamics is a big a good startup located in our incubator in different programs and accelerator is a good teams in this startup. Math persons, AI doctor person, and physical person. That these drones is defense drones. Is defense drones that is the project is validated in Ukraine, in the lab in Ukraine, because actually is a lab in research and development, and it's very interesting for the autonomous drone, defense drone that identify the trajectory in the drones they attack and have different use because it's very good for the protection in the infrastructure are critical. It's possible to port here or another industrial location. It's very good.
Pretty interesting, a bit sad. So that is an your opinion, but investors mostly looking forward what they value in the startup, what they are like looking for some ways to let's say.
Well, I think I'm going to come back to clarity. So you have most investors, depending on their risk appetite and maturity of capital, you have VCs that are really early stage, so they like to work with venture studios and universities and really find the cheapest, the most enticing deals that have growth potential that is 10 to 20x. So some of them are going to be really focused on early stage, and they want to build a new future, and they see what's out there, and they want to see a profitability potential that is big. And then you have the investors that are a bit more risk averse, or who would like to work with teams that are more solid and have commercial traction, and that's more kind of Series A. You have to, for those, it's really important to see commercial viability. So either a pilot project, either signed LOIs with companies, generating revenues is always nice to have, but at least letters of intentions work really well. And making sure that the startup has made its homework, whether it's at the very, very early stage level or mid journey, making sure that the startup really understands what the roadmap is and what the target is, and making sure that there is a market that is scalable. And obviously, you have impact investor versus regular investors. So impact investors are going to be a bit more patient in their approach, and if the market does not exist, or if the scope of the market is not very big at the moment, it matters a bit less because it's more impact driven, and it can be a roadmap of 20 years. Whether it's a regular traditional investor, then their fund is usually 7 to 10 years. So they will want the startup to really have a roadmap for the 7 next years with a clear exit strategy. Whether it's commercial, and they will ask you, are you looking to be acquired? Do you want to sell your IP? Do you want to grow the company and sell it? The startup needs to have answers to those questions.
Thank you very much. So it's the moment to pass to our audience. If you have any question, please, to our panelists. This is the moment.
Hi, I would like to ask if you feel that there's enough investors with the background related with the ocean. I can know where to invest the money, because sometimes I feel like the ocean is a very, you have to know very well to the ocean to know where to invest the money. Do you feel that there's enough, this kind of investors very common to find, or is a real one? Feels good.
That's a very good question. In terms of statistics, only 4% of all clean tech deals are invested in the ocean sector at the moment. So it was 2% 2 years ago, so it doubled, but it's still very low. And that's what we're trying to change. I think the main reason I've been operating in the clean tech sector for many years, and there are a lot of funds that are climate or clean tech, and some of them are investing ad hoc in agriculture or in maritime decarbonization, but for a lot of them, they don't understand the blue economy sector or the ocean economy sector. They haven't been educated on that. So if there is a good deal that kind of pops up, they will consider it. But for a lot of them, they haven't extrapolated their investment thesis to the ocean specifically. And it's been perceived, because there are a lot of NGOs in the space, and because it's more on the kind of, let's say, the ocean side, for a very long time, we've seen it as a nice to have, or as a philanthropic action. I think more and more with Blue Invest, with other rigorous actors in the sector, even the big fours are starting to publish, you need market intelligence that is very rigorous and that speaks the language of the market. And I think we're at a point where we could convert a lot of these funds into paying attention more to the blue economy, but we need more people to get on board with that mission.
Thank you very much. Andreas Manelis from Greece Academy of Entrepreneurship. Apart from employing invest community, that I think it's very important to promote the startups that are here, ERL 7 and above, I want to mention also the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program that started in 2009 and can support some of these startups to go between 1 to 3 months next to host entrepreneurs in Europe and get financial support directly from the program. So even if they have money or they do not have money, Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs can support them on their initial living expenses. Thank you.
More questions? Yes.
We are a clean tech hardware startup, so we find it a little bit more difficult to explain our scalability to the investors. So, because investors generally see it's a software startup, they are more easily convinced that okay, it will scale and it's easy to fund. But when it comes to complex startup like mine, which is a combination of hardware and software, they see it like okay, it seems like it will grow like an SME like a thing. I personally don't believe it. So how to convince that one to the investors? How to resolve this
issue? Well, I'm not sure I agree with you on that. I understand that you probably had experience and feedback in that sense, but there are, and they are investors who are mostly driven towards software, and understandably it's much less costly in terms of capital and it's highly scalable. But that being said, there are a lot of VCs that are specifically geared towards deep tech and robotic and then hardware, and I think more and more it's happening. So I think it's making sure that you're targeting the right investors and that have a track record and a deep understanding of what it means to operate at the axis of hardware and biotech in your case. But it's totally doable. But again, you're going to need the metrics and very, very rigorous data to back this up and to prove your scalability. But there is capital there for that.
One follow-up question, if it's because we see, which you mentioned, generally they invest in, I think you mentioned a little bit in your talk as well, startups which are linked to, say, some sort of ecosystem, like university spin out or the research is based on PhD or something. And they invest in such startups, and these startups not necessarily become successful. I've seen in the last 5 years, a lot of these startups go bankrupt because technology is very complex, and by the time they fail to receive late stage capital. But when it's an independent startup, so one of my startup is we work with a lot of these ecosystems, but we are not technically a spin-off. So it becomes difficult for us. So it feels like we have to wait longer to receive private money. We have to reach revenue stage, and only then there is a possibility, which we are doing now. But it becomes difficult. So it seems like they focus on metrics which are not really concrete. Do you agree with me?
Well, I'm curious to hear what you think about it. I think coming back to what I was saying earlier, it's not just about metrics, it's about market traction. And obviously, it's not full commercialization, but I would advise you to try to develop strategic partnerships really early on with key partners in the industry. And even if it's a small scale pilot, just that is going to add a lot. If you have 2-3 pilots, then it adds a lot of credibility and it really de-risks the investment. because then it's not just an Excel spreadsheet, it's reality and it showcases the scalability prospect.
VC is a very difficult entry in for startup need the show the first key and the market. It's necessary in these cases. My recommendation is to support in different grants lines in research and development in the first seed. And it needs you need to show the first client, the first sales, the first market, in which you can choose the best VC, the best capital risk, the best possible business angels too, because it's very important. You chose the moment, the exact moment in which the new technology or the new company needed this fund. For me, it's more important the intelligent capital in this situation because it's possible. The big corporate or another entity is possible have interest in your technology for diversification, the business model is this question. But it is necessary to analyze the market.
Thank you for your panel. Thank you again to the panelists for the nice presentation. Thank you again for the question. Now we move to the second panel. Now our second panel comes on the level of the Mediterranean ecosystem itself and connecting information across borders. Panelists moderated by Elisa Van Hoven, Formale, Vicelia Murcia, Andrea Clapis, Pedro Boyao, and Micaela Ribeira. Elisa.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Elisa Van Hoven. I'm European Project Manager at Formale, an innovation hub for the blue economy, who is also founding member of Fabbrica Italiana dell'Innovazione. So I'm very pleased to moderate this panel, focus on connecting the Mediterranean innovation ecosystem for the blue growth. I think that as we all know, blue growth comes from technologies and investments, but I think it's also very important to keep in mind people, capacity, cooperation models, and the ability to build bridges between different territories and actors. And this is particularly relevant in a context as the Mediterranean one, where we have a lot of extraordinary diversity, but also shared challenges. We are all witness on how coastal communities are facing the effects of green and digital transition, climate change, skill shortage, and need to develop more resilient and sustainable economic models. And in this context, connecting innovation systems does not just mean creating networks, but also transform them, turn them into concrete opportunities. So I'm building on this perspective. I think that today's panelists are more than experienced to explain to us how actually we can connect this innovation ecosystem and turn them into concrete opportunities. I would like so to introduce our four distinguished speakers. We have Silvia Murcia, consultant and coordinator of the Westmed Assistance Mechanism. We have Andrea Praxis, head of growth for Startup Greece, Pedro Bobiao, founder and managing director of Vite de Grunwald, and Micaela Mirea, project leader of the Energy Transition Partnership Assistance So to start our conversation, I actually would like to ask each speaker about their own experience together with connected innovation ecosystem. And starting from Celia, I would like to ask you your perspective on how conciliation strategies and regional cooperation frameworks help reduce fragmentation and strengthen the economy innovation ecosystem across the Mediterranean, and how actually the Western assistance mechanisms can support this process.
Thank you so much, Elisa. I hope the sound is better. Yeah, better? Okay, thank you. So, yeah, for those who don't know, the WestMed initiative is the initiative for cooperation in the Western Mediterranean supporting the economy for the DMI. So, we have 10 countries, 5 in the North Shore, including Portugal, Spain, Italy, Malta, and France, and 5 in the South, which are Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Mauritania, and Libya. So basically, the WestMed initiative is a cooperation platform among these countries, among the north and south of the Mediterranean, and also among the different types of stakeholders. So innovation can happen if there is no policy alignment, let's say. So the WestMed initiative is part of this, contributes to this common strategy framework of policy related to the blue economy in the different stakeholders. And also alignment with the new policy framework, no, which is very important. We are also as a dialogue platform to bring different countries together on this, but also regions, stakeholders, and basically facilitate this cross-border. So today, in my intervention, I will be really putting the focus on also contributing to the southern countries in terms of blue economy. And also, the initiative supports leverage European funding more effectively. You know that there are some key funding opportunities in the blue economy from Policy Europe, Interreg, or ENFA. So regarding the second part of the question, how the WestMed initiative can support blue SMEs or stakeholders working on the blue economy through the stakeholder connection and matchmaking. So every year we organize a conference of stakeholders working on the blue economy. This year we are going to do it in the Canary Islands in September. So if you are working in a project, you are welcome to come. In this year we are going to focus on the Atlantic priorities and the WestMed priorities. Then how we can support you also through thematic working groups. So for example, we have a WestMed technical group on blue skills that you mentioned, this we can discuss later. On tourism, sustainable tourism, we have a technical group on green shipping. So this is like a structural collaboration in key sectors of the blue economy, helping to reduce this fragmentation. Through the technical groups, we also support project development. So if you are an SME or you are an NGO working on the blue economy, university, or any type of stakeholders, we can support you on shaping your project idea into a more mature proposal to get funds. So this includes also promotion of SMEs. In this sense, we try to give visibility and access to this European and international network to SMEs or projects that are working on the blue economy, and we have an award. We have a call open right now that the deadline is this Friday. So if you are working in a project on blue economy, that you will get, if you want to get this recognition and visibility, I encourage you to apply. And just lastly, so we have been from project development to this access to a network at the European and international level, but we also support a lot of capacity building. Again, talking about the skills, no? So through the technical groups, we provide a lot of skills development in the different areas.
Thank you very much, Celia. And yes, of course, we have worked a lot with WestMed, and we have several projects that benefits from your support, So now, coming, of course, we will, as we said before, in the connection of modern innovation ecosystem, industries, mainly startups, has a big role. And in this context, I would like to ask Andreas, from your experience at Startup Greece, what do blue economy startups need today to scale across Mediterranean markets, and how can national and international startup ecosystem help blue economy entrepreneurs access networks, mentoring, investors, and market opportunities?
Thank you. So the correct answer is all the above, but we need to see the right sequence. Most of the programs are following the process. They do the mentoring, then add some value, some capital conversions, and then hope that the market access for it. But from our experience with our startup incubation program, Startup Universe, this doesn't work to the startups in the blue economy sector. They need access to real operators, port authorities, coastal cooperatives, all the stakeholders that they need to validate. Without this validation, there is no investment.
Porque te han dicho que todavía hace frío. Vale. Entonces ahora mismo solo está ese de abajo. Vale.
The second thing is the opportunity to pilot infrastructure.
Vale, si se calienta mucho, subimos esto. Y ya.
Face some complexities rather than the other startup. For example, a clean tech startup, it's easy for them to build a pilot also in the garage, the founder's room. This is not happening to the startup in the economy. As an example, we have a startup who develops aquamarine sensor or aeroplane port logistics. They need an operator willing to help have real facilities, real assets. So they can build something, try to pilot, and they need the patience for this operator to try the payments, to try to need the time, to have the time to make it work. So the second is this, and I think the third is the capital. You mentioned something about that. I think investors, there are investors to bring the capital in this startup, but I think that they need to communicate them. The startup needs to make a real try to make this risk of these ideas. They need to communicate to the investor that through an industry project that they need to validate the system. It's different to have an idea validated inside the industry than doing it theoretically or just in presentation. I think this will be a lot of the capital. And finally, I think also the policymakers can make some good work about that. Speed up some processes, such as access to ports or give some authorities for pilots. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. We know, as Italian, I know that policymakers and bureaucracy can be a very big issue to be concerned by or startups. So I completely agree with you. I think one of the most important aspects that you mentioned is the creation of the correct network with the operators, which is not always easy because they are it's always it does involve a lot of actors and a lot of communities and territories. So thank you very much. Now we have to discuss about capital, and of course we have to discuss about investments. So for Pedro, I have two questions maybe. So first of all, how can territories transform their own assets, skills, and innovation potential into concrete investment opportunity for the economy? And the second question is actually drawing on your extensive international experience. mainly but not exclusively in the Mediterranean, on how the region move from having a strong maritime coastal potential and actually turn these into real investment pipelines, scalable projects, and long-term economic value.
Hello. So, thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be here. My background actually is a bit different of all of you, these days, as I'm from M&A, come from corporate industry. I work with turnarounds, I work with managing teams. And the question that you may having is, so what are we doing in the blue economy? And the answer, I don't really know also. No, the answer is that I found out 20 years ago that the ocean could be our last economic frontier. As humanity, we have here much more importance and much more capacity that I think everyone with the awareness. So that moved me to understanding better why things are not moving so well in the economy. We heard that we have capital, we heard that we have startups, we have innovation, but in the end of the day, we talk to different people from the academia, from the corporate. We see that this is not connected. People are like, okay, well, I make research that I'm not able to deploy. I have investments to do and I have capacity to make investments that I am not able to deploy. I need investors and I don't find, even in the government side, we have policies, but it seems that not attracting enough people that are not able to deploy. So it's why I started to be very interested in the blue economy clusters. And why it comes? This question is very interesting. Assets. Everyone talks about assets. And assets can be resources, can be research, can be ports. All of these are really assets. And why are not working so well? Mainly, the main pros that I've been seeing in the last years is that the fact that we are talking about inputs. And what we want, all of us, is outcomes. And what does it mean? It means that the port doesn't give you innovation, doesn't give you capacity. It means that the fact that you have private people with knowledge and capacity doesn't bring you what you need to do your market. So that started to make me more and more interested in what is the cluster, why we are talking about cluster. Because this is the way that we transform inputs in outcomes that we are looking for. Outcomes is results, outcomes is better capacity, outcomes is better companies, outcomes is revenue. So one of the things that we are starting to move is that, okay, we have a board, we have a university, we have investors. So maybe the time is to try to align this, because investors, that is in the end of the day what we are looking for, capacity to invest and capacity to have results. And the investors are looking for opportunities. They are not looking for assets. If I go to a board as a capex investor, or normally if I go to an investor and I say, I have opportunity, what is the result of the opportunity? So the first question that I want to mention is the awareness of assets, inputs, outputs, should be aligned. So one of the things that I cover in my past is interest alignment. We have to start to understand that our own interest sometimes is not what is really interest for the outcome. As a researcher, I will do everything I can to have more cash to investigate more. But this outcome is bringing more technology, more things to the table, maybe not. So talking about this creation of value between entities is a lot about understanding outcomes. I keep telling you around the world, outcomes is not easy to find, it's not easy to achieve, because we have to align interests. So let's go to the second phase, that is potential. Potential, I would say that potential is everything. So investors don't do potential. Again, cash not do potential. Only philanthropy, only grants. Potential, we have potential here, the results. I mean, companies are here. So we have to look to value creation. Value creation is very important, that is what I do with this. to create value to the market, and now we want to create the right infrastructure, the right results to the investors, to the industry. Because companies, as was said, they have the cash, and then they look around and say, why am I investing here? I don't even believe that I can make a difference. So innovation that we are talking about here and looking for, innovation has to be translated in value, real value. So we are looking for adaptation of innovation. This is the truth. Because innovation can be in a place, something that brings us better prices, that give us better conditions. So what I'm trying to say in this conference is that we have to understand that potential is not enough, value creation is enough, and we have to start to align and understand that what investors are looking for. The investor, if you come to me and say, okay, I have a very good opportunity in energy, one, so I'm not looking to you, I will buy that. I want something that keeps giving more innovation. So clusters are very important. And these potential assets are very important. When you are able to translate this capacity in real results. And real results is real problems. Or real problems, or that's what the problems. I want a better price. I want better fisheries. I want to spend less cash in gas going to the sea. I want to understand better why I'm using so much cash in bycatch. I want to understand different levels of capacity to bring into this situation. So, in a nutshell, assets, potential, should be transformed in alignment for outcomes, pipeline, capacity to adopt innovation, and then, yes, we will start to talk about how to wrap up the new economy.
Thank you very much, Pedro, for this overview and for the interesting output that you came out. So I think it's very interesting the role of clusters in all of this. They are key connectors, so I completely agree with you that they must have a role in this context. And also value creation, of course, has to the opportunities must become value creation, otherwise it's going to be difficult to actually find concrete solutions. As we said at the beginning, partnerships need to transform into concrete opportunities. So thank you very much. And for passing to Mianela, today we heard a lot about energy transition, also with the keynote speakers speech. So I think that it's very important to see it in your perspective. What lessons can be drawn from stakeholder engagement and capacity building initiative in fisheries and aquaculture energy transition that will be applied to the blue economy system? So thank you very much, Elisa, for the question. It's a bit hard to talk now about energy transition after Pedro's very challenging raised state, but let me introduce first the Energy Transition Partnership for EU Fisheries and Aquaculture. It's an initiative that is promoted by the European Commission through DG Mare, and it has already 3 years. We say already 3 years, but 3 years for an initiative is quite not so much. In these 3 years, we're focused on building the stakeholder community around it. Because the main objective is, on the one hand, to promote the decarbonization and to reduce the energy emissions, carbon footprint, but at the same time, to keep the competitiveness, the resilience, and the social sustainability of the two sectors, fisheries and aquaculture, which is very complicated. And among these stakeholder consultations that were aiming to build a community behind this energy transition partnership that now has more than 650 participants. So we have more than 650 members, and we invite the ones that are interested in energy transition for fisheries and aquaculture to join our community. We had discussion with the sectors, with the fishery sectors, with the aquaculture sectors, but also with the cross sectors, the ports, the fishing shipbuilding sector, the NGOs, also have different perspective and research academia, because we realized in all our consultations that behind that co-creation abstract concept that we use all the time, there is a good exchange between experts that know the technologies, that know how things work, and know what is available there and what is creating value.
and also the fishermen, the aquaculture producers, the one that know the local realities and that can adapt all this or can say why one thing is working or not working. And among these all the discussions, one thing that emerged was the business case. So maybe added value or creating value on, in one narrative can be finding the business case in another narrative. And this is very hard because you have that it's very diverse, that it has different challenges, that it has a lot of knowledge gaps. So this is something that it is building time. And this is something that we are trying to do with various actions that the Energy Transition Partnership is doing. So I really advise all of you to look for the Energy Transition Partnership on the Europa domain, join our community because we have there a very good knowledge hub that was a result of this stakeholder interaction that is presenting a lot of best practices, that is adding there a lot of applications that present also technologies and solutions for fisheries and culture that can be replicated. It has just closed the Olympic Champions, which was a competition dedicated to really technological solutions about TRL7, so quite advanced and ready for the market. And now just launched the Ambassador program, which is a national level a way to support, let's say, local fishermen culture to become more prepared for the energy transition. Spain is also a pilot. So we are having this program prepared now. It's ongoing and will be available for the Spanish fishermen and aquaculture to take advantage of it. Also, by the end of the year, in the autumn, we will have a roadmap for the energy transition that is also a result of the full consultation process, but also comes from the policy side. So it's aiming to support the community, and the work is not stopping here because in the next, let's say, discussions, we are trying to move to the pipeline, finding how to transfer solutions and to scale up and to replicate from one region.
Thank you very much, Nia Helen, for giving us a very good example of how awareness can translate into concrete solution pathways. So I think it's also very important what you mentioned before of the social aspect. I think that fishery and aquaculture has a strong heritage sector. So I think that the transition can be even more challenging considering these aspects. So now actually I want to ask we have a common question, and I would like to know your perspective on what is the main barrier preventing an interregional innovation ecosystem from becoming more connected and impactful.
Thank you, Elisa. I think from the conversation now that there are like some barriers mentioned, I would say that from our perspective, innovation is there, but connectivity sometimes is missing. No? So many solutions remain at the local level, is you see at the investment, and also at the project-based level. So consortium, actual funding, European fundings, get 3 years project, that's it. So then is the next step, what is more difficult to get from this pilot infrastructure that you were mentioning, Andreas, that I think that is well covered, but in projects and especially this project is actually about providing this access to pilots. I think the tricky part is the next one, to do with the pilot to commercialization. And we also noticed that there is a lack of access from SMEs, startups to a more international network. So to policymakers, to investors. And the other, I want to mention two barriers. The other one is because we already mentioned a few times, Amelie mentioned in the previous intervention that this startup, the innovation team, is very small, or some of them they don't have even this innovation chain, no? And I will say also that the skills sometimes are missing because startups, spin-offs come with a very technical background, but sometimes the innovation, the business skills are missing or less developed on how to bring this technology to the market. So, yeah, competencies and connectivity.
I can see that. And that's
So what I learned working in startup business and ecosystem leader is that, from my opinion, the most important action that an ecosystem can offer is the right methodology. So what I mean, working in a structured process, approaching all the stakeholders with a structured work, approaching investors, approaching founders, approaching all the stakeholders that participate in this ecosystem. I think we can better understand each other and build some synergies all together, so we can understand and work together about this innovation ecosystem.
thanks, Andreas. So methodology and policy.
So I'm going to give another statement. Execution matters. So a lot of what is happening is about lack of execution. And when we say execution, it's really doing things and hoping that we have a result. When we see and look about the map, it's not only about the map, because if you see around the world, even the Canadian, I would say that the Nordish are one of the most brightest construction clusters. But when you see, there are two things that you realize when you see from outside, like me. First is misalignment. The things are not real aligned. The schools, the startups, the innovation, the companies are not really aligned. Map is different. When I go to a government or to map is easy. We map it in a month or 2 months, and we know what are the good opportunities, the value chain, where we can bring value to this country or to this region. The second phase is much more difficult. It's okay, this is the career. Is Italy talking with Morocco? Is Morocco's Casablanca is talking with Cartagena? Because sometimes we are talking about inputs, outputs from these different clusters that can be give this alignment. So we can put alignment in a small way, or in a short way, or in a more profound way, or can put alignment thinking about the map. Okay, the map has huge potential. So why is it not working so well as it should be? Alignment and shortage of capacity when we transform it to the real ground. So execution, alignment, and capacity to start to understand how different players can collaborate, and this is missing a lot. It's lovely to hear about investors, startups. But then, when you say, okay, what we are going to do together, this is a huge group. Because what I said is true, or what I said. We had something happening. It's funny because sometimes I'm in 4 different countries, in 4 different regions, and I heard the same startups talking about the same. And it's like, and the biggest problem, people talking about the same difficulties that could be a challenge very easy. So this kind of alignment, that this kind of conference comes or projects, this kind of segmentation that we have to stop it and start to talk what is the goals, and then is the one way is I think the way of stopping these barriers and not keeping telling the same things in different regions, having the same problems that everyone cries about the same. In the end of the day, we should work like software works. If you like software development, it's not all about create every time a startup goes down. That should bring quality for the other startups, which is not existing in our sector. So collaboration, stop fragmentation, try to make it better, to make sure that the investors will understand and the companies in the industry will understand that it's not about share, it's about alignment.
Thank you, Pedro. Mia. But I would emphasize a bit what was said before, not only in this panel, but also before that. Innovation, I think, is there, and I think in some cases was already proven. But I also agree with the fragmentation and with the fact that sometimes in this very competitive process, we tend to work very much in silo and to focus on what we are doing and not seeing how we can capitalize and how we can work with the others to build something better. And in our presentation also, the pilots and the demonstrators were, let's say, the most important thing to prove investors, and not only to the investors, because we talk about the investors a lot, but also to prove to the fishermen and to the aquaculture producer that it's worth this change, this transition, it is also a benefit for them. I think these pilots and demonstrators are also very, very important, but sometimes we find it very difficult to build new ones and to come up with new ideas. I think the ideas are already there, and some pilots already proved their effectiveness. It's just to replicate them in different conditions in a different area. And I think the demand is very diverse. It's just that it needs more cohesion and it needs more transfer from one country to another, cooperation, collaboration, discussion. And I'll go again to the energy transition niche. That is a very small one in the blue economy world, but still, I think it's a very good example of how we can bring everyone together and how an ambassador program, for instance, can be the support, because these ambassadors will be in contact with everything that is happening at EU level. They will have the tools, but at the same time they will know the realities that are specific for each country, and they can ensure this transfer from a very high level to a very local reality. And of course, this is a support that is coming from the policy side. But I think it's very important to have it when we discuss about how this can be transferred in private sector, in real life, and in the economy. Thank you very much. I think we got some interesting inputs from his question, from the lacks of competencies to the importance of avoiding segmentation and having focus on connection and cooperation, to finally the capitalization of successful story, because we need to start from what is already existing. So now I would like to give the floor to the audience if you have any questions to our speakers.
Okay, thanks. And do you think that the problem for this connectivity is the lack of places where the companies and startups can test the devices? What I mean is, sometimes when you go to the sea, the bureaucracy behind what they needed to deploy one small thing in the ocean is huge, so perhaps we need more places where a startup can go, or near free or very easily, and deploy something, and not to need to face all the bureaucracy and things in Spain that to be faced.
Thanks for the question. I want to mention something about this. I want to mention that all this thing that you referred, it's part of a failure that the ecosystem inside is facing. I think that we need to go further and deeper to this company and ask about this type of pilots and use the infrastructure and all this stuff that you mentioned.
It's a very complicated question, but I can try to share a bit my perspective.
perspective. I know that for research sector, there are infrastructures that can be used. It's true that for private sector on the sea, less. But I think the example coming from the land can be replicated. And I think it's kind of normal because we focused all our attention until some years ago on the land. So everything, the innovation hubs and infrastructures used for building and testing these kind of technologies are much more developed. And I think it needs, again, the maturity and the time to reach that moment and to have a similar thing for the sea. It's much more complicated, and I imagine that it's much more expensive than for the land. Here I think that it's the trick, because again, a place like this, innovation hub, will make sense if it will have a business case behind it. And when the costs are high, also the expectations in generating outcomes and business case are also high. So until this balance is not achieved, I think will be difficult to have this available, at least in my view.
Just to keep in mind, I'm Jesus Arteta from the University of Utrecht. We are the coordinator of two different projects that we were invited to participate in this side. But I think that a good way to move forward is to be coordinated. Because you and me, we are doing the same thing, more or less. There are several dimensions that are project. Easier to put all together in a space. And I think that it's very passionate. Yes, you have to get digitalized. You have to participate in everywhere, but you need time, you need resources, you need to be coordinated. And you also need to be informed on all this ecosystem and all this fund, and maybe European put all together. And not like this lighthouse now has it's just to be coordinated and working together, because here we are we know very well which are the main barriers for innovation, marine, lack of funding, this nobody is not very well, I don't know. It's not a good normative to know it, to look at all these small and medium enterprises and take all these results from research and put it in new startup. And also this coordination, participation with all the stakeholders. Here I think we are all here in our region, but we need maybe influencers, a lot of people that and actors are not here, and they have a very powerful impact in society to may know all these initiatives that is very tricky, but it's very important to work more in collaborative way with all these social ecosystems. These social dimensions that we are here are talking about all these, I don't know how to get involved, how to stand up, we need the society, and we need all these people that can be working with that. So, I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Just one small question I wanted to ask. What could be the top 3 challenges faced by ports or aquaculture or ocean, or the top 3 areas where these investors are looking to invest? What the top 3 burning issues you could say, which needs the most innovation according to your experience?
We didn't hear.
Currently, what are the top 3 areas which requires the most innovation, or which are the most severe problems with the aquaculture or marinas or ports or oceans in general? Top 3 areas that the investors are most interested to put their money in.
Thank you. So let's let's put it in the truth is that let's go forward. I have a problem with the name blue economy because it becomes so broad that everything is there. And that is a problem for who doesn't understand blue economy for the investors. We have, I know that it can hurt some people, but it becomes so broad. We are talking about so many sectors that you put out a company with a company, a startup in the boat that does and folding for a boat, and they have nothing to do with each other, but they are just accelerated. And the investors look at it and they don't really understand why they are talking. So it's very difficult to talk about what are the best sectors, what are the worst, because first we got a very good umbrella that is a blue economy that put us all talking, that gave us money from different governments. And the thing is that it's creating problems as investors. One of the problems is that investors want clarity. The other thing is that they keep having the same thesis, like I said, 7 years. In the 12 of the company, 7 years is a joke, because it takes 3 or 4 to have the first fish growing in a stable way. In energy, the same. So I would say that more than the sectors that are more difficult, I will give you a good answer because it's coming from what is territorial innovation for me. So more than bringing a lot of ideas, the territories as the answer for your question. What does it mean? The blue economy exists, of course. The Romans were doing aquaculture here in the south of Spain, Pescado de Cera. They were also making food processing. The thing is that the blue economy exists. The ports exist, aquaculture exists. Of course, new technology, biotechnology comes to the table. But let's make it easy. Cartagena maybe is not the best place in the world to do alternative protein. Maybe it doesn't have the conditions. So what I keep telling to the local people and to the local community is that these territories already have challenges, and they already have right people, and they already have maybe capacity to invest. So let's change a bit to make what investors like more and what should be where I make my startup, and make the opposite. How can I solve the local problems? Because we are talking about these hubs are local. So one of the steps that should be done regarding investments is try to solve local problems with local people and understand the gaps and bring these people to the gaps and start to fulfill. And then the investors or the industries will come after the nest is done. Because you don't see investors spraying chemical away. You don't see it. It doesn't exist. Only crazy and go to accept money from the people. But the best is to try to understand what is solving problems in the economy that exists for 20,000 years. And the worst is trying to make a design based on wishful thinking. So put all together, blue economy as a good umbrella, but let's focus on what can bring fast capacity, returns, revenues, and then use the knowledge, the intelligence, academia, cash to rise. Hope that I answered your question.
Thank you very much. I think you answered Robert's question. If there are no other questions, I think that we can close this session. And I'd like to thank very much the speakers for their interesting inputs and everyone.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Gloria. Now you have lunch. Please, those that don't sign the sheet at the entrance, please sign the in the sheet in the entrance. And now the lunch is in the room. In the first floor, we have the lunch. Okay. Thank you, all of you. See you in.
Thank you.
Also, we have our own product that we share with the taste it and then we can something. We would like to launch in Portugal in a few months. It's a healthy snacks. You know the mythology. These are the snacks. This is apple, has a market. This is banana, blueberry, nuts, has a lot of quality as well. And you will see it in Portugal, I think in continental markets, in
Audio with phone. Hmm? Yeah, audio with phone is what I named it. So microphone, wired headset earpiece.
But headset,
Now,
it means headset.
yeah, this is headset.
So it's wrong. We need to translate that this is
It
the
also says headset earpiece. So it has two. And this is in the microphone.
That's
So
why.
how can you speak there?
No, that's the problem.
Or just this?
Can I tell you, this is the problem. It has
Can
to
you see it?
recognize this not as headphones. That's why we need translator. It comes.
My dear, it is not recognizing it as a speaker. It is recognizing it as a microphone.
Yes, but what?
Do they hear?
This is off. So we need to. How can I check?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. What? Come on. Here? No. So it's this one.
Oh no.
It's not